we got a trade. The Chicago Bears have traded the 41st pick to the Buffalo Bills. And with the 41st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select T.J. Sanders, defensive tackle, South Carolina.
Trade alert! The Bills trade up 15 spots to the 41st overall pick to go get South Carolina defensive tackle T.J. Sanders. We want to welcome you into our instant draft reaction show. He's Bills insider Chris Brown. I'm your host, Maddy Glab. To make this pick possible, the Bills trade their 56th, 62nd, and 109th pick to Chicago for the 41st, 72nd, and 240th pick. That's how they went and got Sanders. Now, Sanders is 6'4", 305 pounds, strong at the point of attack with some violent hands that helps him get off blocks and go get that quarterback. Chris, he also has some twitchiness and some light feet to his game, which helped Sanders get 9.5 career sacks. Why did the Bills have to move up this high to go get Sanders?
I think they were sensing that a run was going to come here, and based on some of the picks we've seen after this pick by the Bills, another defensive tackle just went after him, Alfred Collins, the Giant Texas defensive tackle, goes to San Francisco. So I think based on the value that they saw on their board, I think they felt a run could start. They wanted to be at the front end of that, and they got the guy that they like the most, which is T.J. Sanders. And Sanders is a player that fits what the Bills want to do with their defensive line. We hear them all the time say we want to get pressure on the quarterback, just rushing 4. It was a monumental problem for this team last year. They often had to resort to blitz tactics. Defensive coordinator Bobby Babich had to play more man coverage on the back end because he was sending more guys at the quarterback because they couldn't get consistent pressure with the front 4. This guy is a penetrating type defensive tackle. He's got some great moves. He's got an arm over move that I like a lot. He's got a nice chop move to get himself free off an offensive lineman. This is a guy that I think his work rate is going to inspire teammates to work just as hard as he does. I've seen plays on film where he is double teamed and works off it, and he's the first guy to the ball carrier. There's a lot of second effort to his game that I like also, whether it's chasing plays from the backside. He's just a very active, sudden player off the snap, and I think that is what they're looking for on the interior of their defensive line. I think at worst, he is Ed Oliver's rotational backup, at worst.
So what I'm hearing is that he has the Bills' DNA already inside him, the willingness, the want to be involved in the middle of the pack, whether it's backing up Ed Oliver or helping out whoever's next to him on the interior.
They want upfield players on the interior as well as on the edge. And as we know, sometimes teams defeat your outside rush with a quick passing game. The ends can't get there fast enough. The quickest distance between point A and point B is a straight line. If you can have interior players that can penetrate and get upfield, sometimes they can disrupt a quick passing game more effectively than your edge guys because they're closer to the quarterback. So hopefully that pays dividends with his game.
Sanders does have that quick first step. We'll see how that translates into the NFL level. Hopefully it means some sacks for him in his future. Let's now get over to our senior producer from NFL Films, Greg Cosell, also co-host of ESPN's NFL Matchup Show. Greg, thanks for taking the time to be on with us and help break down Buffalo's latest pick. Were you surprised the Bills decided to move up to 41 to go get Sanders?
Well, I think Brownie probably hit it on the head. I think they wanted a pass rush. We've talked about that all season, Brownie, about the fact that they couldn't rush with 4 and be effective. Right. So they wanted to do that, and there was starting to be a rush on D tackles. There's a lot of good ones in this class, but you want to get the kind of D tackle that you like, and you guys nailed it. I mean, he is first and foremost a pass rusher at this moment in his career. I think he has the ability and the traits down the road with experience and coaching in the league to be a really good 3-down player. But right now, this guy is one of the better pass rushing D tackles in this draft. He's twitchy, he's sudden. You normally don't say that about D tackles, but this guy is extremely athletic. I like Brownie, what you said. He has some really good moves inside as well. So, you know, the hope is that he can at least be a sub-front pass rusher right now. He's probably at his best as a 3 technique as he develops, which, of course, is what Ed Oliver plays right now. But this guy is an explosive, sudden athlete, And the hope is that he can be there in sub fronts and rush the quarterback.
All right, so taking that a step further, Greg, what does he have to do to become more of an effective three-down player, for lack of a better term, and help them, in obvious rundown situations?
Right. Well, Brownie, you've watched some tape as well. It's there. You see him have some short stroke power. You see him jar interior offensive linemen at times. It's all there. It's just that at this moment is not the strength of his game. He doesn't do that with the frequency that he would need to do it in the NFL. So you hope with some technique refinement, just some experience playing, understanding what he needs to do, that he can do it. Now, the big question I would have is, he's incredibly athletic. I believe he was 297 pounds at the combine. The question becomes, can he become 310, let's say, without losing any of his sudden twitchiness? And, that's something, probably you and I can't answer, or Maddy can't answer right now. We don't know the answer to that. But if that can be the case, then he becomes an even more valuable base defense player.
Greg, the Bills select a cornerback last night, Maxwell Hairston, now a defensive tackle in T.J. Sanders. What does this tell you about what Buffalo wants to do in 2025?
Well, I think we know that offense was not their issue in 2024. It was the defense. The defense struggled. They couldn't rush the quarterback with 4. They had issues on the back end. They've addressed both with the first 2 picks. You obviously hope they both pan out. What you really hope is they both can be meaningful contributors as rookies, because when you draft in the first round and the second round, again, it doesn't mean that they have to play every single snap, although I'm sure they would love Maxwell Hairston to be the starter opposite Benford, who they just signed. But Sanders, he's really at this moment in time a sub-front player, but that could be meaningful snaps in games. I mean, you could be playing 60% of the snaps, if he's capable of doing that. And obviously, they hope that he is. They didn't trade up to get him with the idea that he has that he's going to sit out or he's going to play 10 snaps a game. This is not a red shirt season. They're hoping that he's going to be able to play absolutely in sub front. So they've addressed 2 areas of need, and we'll see what they do. I guess they don't have a pick now till 72 based on the trade, but it's somebody they clearly wanted, or they would not have made the trade.
I love what you said about the fact that they don't trade up that much unless they know they want to play him this season. How much, we don't know yet. We'll start to see when T.J. Sanders gets here for rookie minicamp. Greg, thanks so much for the time. Sanders was asked about why he likes to play defensive line. His response was incredible, because when I get a sack, it makes me feel alive. Sanders actually started playing football seriously his junior year in high school. That means he's played football seriously for just 6 seasons. So you think about the high ceiling that a player like this has, what he's already showed on tape, and what he can refine when he gets here in Buffalo.
Right, and that's what I wanted to ask Greg Cosell about, because for all intents and purposes, T.J. Sanders is young at the position, young in football, quite frankly. So yes, it makes sense that he hasn't put a complete game together yet. With good technique coaching from this defensive line staff, which now includes Ryan Nielsen and Jason Rebrovich, in addition to Coach West, you've got 3 guys that can work with this guy, maybe one of them to even work with him individually to get the finer points and nuances of run defense, leverage, pad level, down where he just does it without even thinking about it, instead of being a little inconsistent in that area. Because as you heard Greg say, the physical tools are all there for him to also be a great run defender, in addition to being a great pass rusher, which he is already from the interior. You put that onto the resume, you've got a complete 3-down player now that can really cause problems for an opposing offensive line.
Bills General Manager Brandon Beane was giving us clues in his pre-draft press conference about what type of defensive lineman he wanted to go after. He said the defensive linemen in today's NFL, specifically talking about defensive tackles, the ones getting paid big time money are the ones that can be pass rushers. Instead of just run stoppers, you add pass rusher onto that resume, and those are the players who are getting big second and third contracts. You said it, T.J. Sanders is a pass rusher at the defensive tackle position. Why is that so important for Buffalo's roster based on what they already have at that defensive tackle position, Chris?
Because what they had isn't enough from a pass rushing perspective. As we said, this is a team that finished 18th in the league in sacks. They had only 38 last year, and they could not get pressure on a consistent basis rushing 4. This system and its success is predicated on rushing 4 and getting to the quarterback so you can drop 7 into coverage. And that pass rush with 4 in conjunction with the coverage with 7 on the back end has to work hand in hand. And if they can't get pressure, they have to change what they want to do defensively, namely rush more players to get the pressure you want to generate, and then put more pressure on the guys on the back end to cover, often in man-to-man situations. So you need as many good pass rushers as you can find. This is one of them. I also wonder if this is a player that can light a fire under Ed Oliver a little bit, who had a monster season before his contract year, then signs the big contract, doesn't have nearly the production last year in 2024. This is a player that's going to battle him for playing time, lining up at the same position. If this guy produces, we know how Sean McDermott operates. He's going to be on the field more than Ed. So I'm very curious to see how that works. I do expect them to line up next to one another when they're in obvious passing situations. They're the 2 best pass rushing interior players on this roster right now as we speak. But what happens on the non-obvious passing downs? Who's the 3 technique that's getting more of the snaps? Who's producing more? Ed is going to have a guy breathing down his neck for playing time in T.J. Sanders.
Yeah, Sanders said he split time at 3 tech and 1 tech. And when you hear him say that and you think about what's in this defensive line room already in Dwayne Carter, Daquan Jones, Zion Logue, Larry Ogunjobi, and Ed Oliver, how do you see the picture fitting together right now?
Yeah, I really think Oliver and Sanders, because of their pass rushing prowess, are players that are going to be on the field more in what is now a passing league. Yes, we saw a little resurgence of the run game in the league last year, but it's still a passing league for all intents and purposes. That's why you need a player like T.J. Sanders to rush the quarterback effectively. So I wonder now, because in my mind today, T.J. Sanders, better pass rushing defensive tackle than Dwayne Carter. So does he jump him on the depth chart? Who loses playing time with T.J. Sanders in this rotation now? That's something that's going to bear watching when we get to training camp to see how the rotation works, see who has success in the preseason, and see who ultimately is in that frontline rotation or in their quote-unquote turbo package. I don't think either of them are the kind of player you could put out on the edge like a Dwayne Smoot did last year for them, who also kicked inside. I think both Carter and Sanders are interior players only. They can vacillate between the 2 interior spots. I don't see one of them going outside. So do you ask Dwayne Carter to put on more weight and play a little more 1 tech, or do you leave those 3 guys all in the same type of role, playing at the same type of weight to rush the passer? I'm interested to see what the plan is going forward.
This is all great information. We're going to start to see what that plan looks like once guys come back here for OTAs. Phase 1 of off-season workouts is happening right now. Rookie mini camp in a few weeks, and then they get into phase 2 OTAs, mandatory mini camp, things like that in the coming weeks. T.J. Sanders said he's explosive, twitchy, high IQ. That's what you see when you turn on the film. An exciting player to watch who can go and get the pass rusher. I can't wait to see what it looks like when he puts on a Buffalo Bills uniform.